I'm going through a life transition right now. I'm in my late 20s, and it's not a transition that you typically see in public. Like, I'm not getting married, I'm not having kids. It's not anything like that. And for some reason, those types of transitions can really get pushed to the background, never really talked about, and most unfortunately, not taken seriously by the people who are going through them, which leads to either like a really long transition period that takes them just way longer than it needs to, or what's way worse is that you get stuck and you stay stuck because whether the transition you feel like has any weight, it really impacts how willing you are to show up to your own life. And so I say all of this because we're going to talk about the transition that I am going through right now, for a couple of different reasons. But more importantly, to show you that there is so much that we go through in life. There are always transitions happening. In fact, human beings, we are always changing. That's a beautiful thing because if we're not changing, we're actually going backwards. And especially in our 20s, we go through so many transitions. And some of them, yes, are huge life transitions like getting married or having children, moving out of your parents' home and living on your own for the first time, getting your first big job, whatever it looks like, there are huge life transitions. There's also ones that we think of as smaller, but in reality, they're just more internal than external. And so we can think of those transitions as less than important. But the transition that I'm going through right now is very internal and it has external impact, okay? That's the thing about internal transitions is that it's never just, oh, internal, okay, cool, I'm changed, but like it has its effect in the external. It has to. Otherwise, it probably wasn't a very good transition. But because it has its impact in its external, but that's not what I'm focused on at this moment because I'm focused on the transition internal. So let's just dive into it, shall we? Um, a lot of times when we feel like these transitions are internal or they're not the big ones that people are going through, we can kind of see it go into the background. And this happens for a few different reasons. One, because it's not a big in your face external thing. But second, because if you feel like you can't share it with someone because it's not as like big and exciting as other people's transitions in their life, like maybe it's not worth sharing and talking about or, throwing a party for like bridal showers and bachelorette parties and weddings themselves, right? If you feel like you can't share it, sometimes it feels like maybe it's not good enough, or maybe it's not worth being spending time on, or worth kind of really developing and seeing where it can go. Does this ring any bells? Because I feel like I felt this so many times. There's things that I'm going through that are huge. They're life changing for me. But because they're not what society would expect of someone in their 20s going through externally, suddenly it's lost all its merit. And I'm here to tell you that's a big fat lie, okay? This is not what's happening. It's just helpful to realize that this is maybe why we're feeling some of these things, and that this is maybe why this is so common to put these types of transitions in the background. And like I said, it can either drag on or worse, it can keep you stuck forever. Okay. Now, my transition that I'm going through right now is that of identity. And let me tell you, because it's such an integral internal shift, everything external is going to shift. Like it's not going to touch one part of life, right? Which is why it's so big. And it can feel so big because it's internal, because you have to change a lot. You're uncovering a lot of beliefs that you've had for a long time, and you're trying to replace them with new beliefs, right? This is who I am now. And how do I live from this identity rather than the identity I had been? And then a familiar situation happens, we feel threatened, and oh, what do we want to go back to? We want to go back to our old identity. This is one of the, if not the biggest hurdle or battles that we fight as human beings, is this battle of our identity, is this battle of this identity that served us for a time, and now we have to welcome a new identity or we're going to be stuck. And it can feel like we're turning our back on ourselves, which is really hard. But it can also feel impossible at times. And I'm going to talk about why. Because this, like, I think of it kind of like as a roller coaster, like a big, there's like ups and downs, okay? And this is my experience thus far in this transition. This isn't a new necessarily like this morning I started this transition. It's been happening for quite a few months, but it's so interesting what I've experienced so far. So at first, this was, it starts kind of at a point and then it kind of rises quickly. And this is kind of that first, like, you're learning more about this new identity and you are like saying, yes, this is for me, this is for me. And it's a little bit hard because it's not something you've ever done before. Okay, that's what's hard about it. So you're learning and you're doing something for the first time, and all of a sudden you start to see results. Oh my gosh, the results are so encouraging. And you're like, oh my gosh, why did it take me so long? Why did it take me so long to get here? I feel like a completely different person. This was me. For a few months, I would say, I was riding this high of, oh my gosh, I am a completely different person. Why did I wait so long? I want to tell everyone about it. I want to tell everyone what I've learned. I want to tell everyone to do this for themselves. Like, I am making decisions differently. I'm doing all of this, and it is literally life-changing. Like, truly the best thing ever. Okay, so you're up here, and then there's inevitably a dip. Okay, inevitably. And why do I say that? It's because a lot of things. Disruption follows intention. Yes, that's one thing. But as human beings, we are always trying to find our center, right? We're always trying to find, where are we? Like, we want to, like, kind of like elastic, like snap back into place. And so there's always going to be that pull until there's enough of our energy and enough of our proof to our bodies, to our nervous system, that no, this is the new identity. No, this is where we want to snap back to instead of over here. Okay, so there's a lot of that happening. And then also, there's also like, when you get further into an identity and there's more time that goes by, there's bigger questions that come up. And when I say bigger questions, I mean like questions that are more long lasting, like, how does this really affect every aspect of my life? Or what does this mean for this decision I'm making? Or what does this mean for, like, now when the rubber meets the road, am I going to live this way? Or is my old habits going to come back and my old beliefs try to come back and try to take me this way? So there's been quite the drop off, I would say. And this is where I'm at right now, okay? To be completely honest. I still think this identity is worth fighting for, and this is why I'm not giving up. This is why I am committed to going through the valley of despair, which is really vulnerable of me to be sharing about. And I'm sharing about it because I want to document my own journey. I want to document this process for you, really, so that you can have the hope and the trust and the freedom to say, okay, it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies the whole time. There will be hard times, but I have an example of someone who's doing it, who's sharing her journey, so I can feel less alone and I can feel like I can do the same thing. I feel like I can show up for myself in the same ways and see the result. So that is really my hope for you. And that's why I'm doing this, because listen, it is not fun. I do not want to come out here and share what's hard about this transition with the world. I don't. But I'm doing it for you so that you are not alone in your own journey, because truly this identity work it will serve you so well, because we're always transitioning, we're always changing, we're always growing as human beings. And the identity that we hold on to is so important. And the identity that we're stepping into is so important. And so we don't want to feel like we can't, that it's too much, right? That this roller coaster is too much for anyone, because it's not. So here are some things that I'm doing right now as I'm in this downward turn, and I know that it's going to take some time and some work to go back up that curve, and eventually, hopefully, to stay more net positive than net negative. Okay, so here's what I'm doing right now, and feel free to steal these. Like, seriously, they're amazing. Okay, so first of all, taking it seriously. And let me tell you, that falls squarely on my shoulders. No one else is going to hear my story and be like, oh, this, and give me the motivation that I need to take this seriously in my life. Like, no one. So that is my responsibility. And some of the ways that I'm taking this seriously are, I'm telling my story. One, it's keeping me accountable to take this seriously, because I'm sharing it with others. And it's also me confiding in friends. Just because I'm not, getting married or having a baby doesn't mean my friends don't want to know about what's going on in my life. In fact, last night I was sharing with a friend and in a voice note, and she was like, I always want the long version. Let us find friends that always want the long version, shall we? And third, I am putting in the work. This is how I'm taking it seriously. I'm not just waiting for the valley to disappear, because I know that the only way through the valley is through taking action. So I have to take it seriously and I have to put in the work. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck in this valley, and I don't want that. Okay, the next thing I'm doing is journaling. Oh my gosh, journaling is so helpful. A very wise friend of mine said something the other day that is just living rent free in my life. And she said that if you want to know about someone else, you want to know someone else's story, you read a book about them. If you want to know yourself, you write the book, meaning journaling. Like, you have to journal. You have to get your pen on paper, get your thoughts out of your head. And this is really helpful for processing, for having new ideas come to the surface, all of these good things. So, so vital. I just think of that quote all the time. If you want to know someone else, read their book. If you want to know yourself, write your story. Oh, so good. I'm also thinking about the end goal. And the reason I'm doing this is because this identity that I am shifting into, I want to have a really clear picture of what that is. And I want to keep that in my mind. I'm thinking about it, because if I'm not thinking about this is the goal, this is what I'm getting to, then the problems that come up of the like now seem really big and seem like they could be the thing to knock me off my journey. But when I'm keeping the end goal in mind and I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, this is who I'm becoming, then it's helpful to keep these things into perspective. So that's really important for me. And the other thing that I'm doing is living in the gain. Okay, this is a concept from the book The Gap and the Gain by, I think, Cal Newport, if I'm saying that wrong. I think it's him. Anyway, the gap and the gain is this idea that there is always going to be a space between where you're at and the ideal that you want to be. So whether it be the goal that you're trying to achieve or the person you want to be, right? In this case, it could be my identity that I'm stepping into. So if I'm always thinking about that and I'm thinking about where I'm at, I'm thinking about the gap that I need to close. And so that can be really disheartening for the progress that you've already made. And so when he talks about the gain, it's like, okay, you are here. This is the goal. You are here, but this is where you started. And so it's looking backwards this way and saying, look at all the ways that look at all the progress I've made. Look at the gains that have got me to where I am. And so it's this concept of living from a place of honoring where you come from and seeing the progress you've already made and living from that place rather than a lack of what you don't have yet. If this is not making a ton of sense, read the book. It's really good and it goes very far into it. But this has just been such a helpful transition in my mind of, instead of thinking of the goal and always striving and measuring myself against that, I'm measuring myself to see how far I've come. And that has been so helpful in my whole process of seeing how far I've come and encouraging me on the journey. And you realize how much further you actually are than where you think when you're looking at the goal ahead. And I really, like I said, this is vulnerable of me to share, but I'm really sharing it because if I can do it, I know you can too. I promise you. And there are so many transitions that we go through every day, especially in our 20s. And I just wanted to bring that, you know, awareness is not the right word, but bring a spotlight to the transitions you might be going through that aren't the big life transitions like marriage and kids that get celebrated all the time. Your transitions are worth being celebrated. And I really hope that you feel that now and that you feel like you can go to your people and celebrate them with them. Here's to all of the transitions, whether you can see them or not, and all of the things that we are growing into as we become who we're meant to be. Cheers.